Take yourself off mute, Joey. Jeez Louise, what are you doing? What are you doing? We're live.
What are you doing?
I
What's
thought
up?
are you going to play it?
Bye, baby. I don't mean baby. Gonna get along somehow. Soon you'll be crying on account of all your lying. Oh yeah, just look who's laughing now.
All right, you're listening to Transparency and Merit. Some of you are watching it. And I'm here with Brian. I'm JP or Joe. I don't care.
I'm Brian, also known as Mr. Midnight Movie, whichever one you want to consider me as, and I'm here. So, our first, I think we'll dwell. Okay, our the title of our show is Transparency and Merit, The Wanderers, and
The Warriors,
Warriors.
both made in 1979.
Yes, one directed by Walter Hill, and the other
Who was it? Who's the other dude?
directed by let me see here. The other directed by Philip Kaufman, and he also directed The Right Stuff.
Not Hoffman. Kaufman.
Kaufman. Did I say Hoffman?
God bless you.
Kaufman, yeah. And the Unbearable Likeness of Being as well. He directed that. And
Dennis Dyke says that the Warriors movie was good. I agree.
I
enjoyed it. That movie is really good. And Brian, you could easily play one of the dudes in this movie.
Well, the Wanderers, yeah, but not the Warriors.
I'm sorry, the Wanderers. Oh my God, it's so easy to confuse these movies. But the Wanderers, I think we were going to talk about that one first, right?
Well, I think the Wanderers is a little bit deeper, and I think we want to go maybe into the Warriors.
Save it first. Yes,
First.
We're gonna make sure you stick around, people.
Yeah. And actually, the Wanderers.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, both films did fairly well. The Wanderers cost, I believe, more money than the Warriors.
How much did the Wanderers make?
I'm not sure what the Wanderers cost, but they both kind of made the Warriors made 22.5 million, and the Wanderers made 23 million.
Oh yeah,
and the Warriors came out before. The Warriors came out before the Wanderers. The Warriors came out in February, and basically it's about a gang that is accused of murdering a major gang leader who is wanting to get all the gangs together for power. They're all having a local gang meeting.
Skerduffle.
Yeah. And basically, they have to get back to Coney Island, to their territory, before they are done in by all of the other gangs that want to basically do them in.
I wonder if the best hot dogs are in Long Island. What do you think, Scott? Any comment?
Now, the novel was actually written. Now, if we compare both films, the novel for the Warriors was also written, even though the film takes place in modern time. The novel was written before The Wanderers as well, which was written in 1965, and it actually takes place in 1965. And I don't think the gang in the book is mixed it's African American and Hispanic gang, and yeah, I think they have an unnamed Irish gang sporting crew cuts and long sideburns and sweater are the only white, I guess you could call white gang in the book. In the movie,
I think that June's got this backwards. I think it's Tokyo Blue may remind him of the Warriors. Just saying.
but the book is both the book The Warriors and The Wanderers. From my understanding, deal with. I mean, like they're both much rougher books than the movies are. Both both the books deal with racial epithets. They also deal with rapes that the movie doesn't even touch.
No rape?
What's that?
You mean there was rape in the book, but not in the movie?
There is rape in both books, but not in the movie. Yeah, and there's in The Wanderers, I believe there's interracial rape, and it yeah, and one of them is so shocked by the rape of his girlfriend that he ends up joining the Marines in The Wanderers.
Well, they get duped. They were watched the entire movie,
Yeah,
and you know, whatever you want to say, it's kind of like a little bit of a, you know, call out to 1984, George Orwell's story. That this is if this was fictional, this is coming to you. That's the kind of feel it had.
yeah, and well, I mean, if you're talking about okay, so let's go.
Or it was already here and he didn't know it was here. It's kind of like a weird history lesson.
We're talking about the film The Wanderers right now. I mean, and
Yeah.
I'll just end on the thing is the cultural impact of the Warriors. It became really popular, and a lot of films became rediscovered once VHS and then DVD came along. People rediscovered all that stuff and really rediscovered in some ways how good these films were and the uniqueness that they did with those particular films. And a lot of the stuff that was, I mean, films in general are rewritten and improvised, and they're done sometimes a lot different than the book itself, the original material that it was written. And you know, a lot of people, if you fall in love with a book and it becomes a movie, a lot of times you will become very disappointed in the film adaptation. I mean, for example, The Shining. I remember when The Shining came out, a lot of Stephen King fans were very much disappointed in that version. Now it's become probably the greatest Stephen King adaptation, even though it wasn't a direct adaptation. It's considered his, you know, the best adaptation, even though it didn't follow the book. But I mean, Stanley Kubrick. I mean,
Yeah, I was going to say 2001: A Space Odyssey was a manifestation of all of the space films. It was like a meta-analysis, and it was like, this is what we've seen, and this is where we're going. And that was very. I think that movie is underrated in the sense that it was a highly influential movie, even though a lot of people didn't like it a whole lot. I remember when I first met you, you didn't really like the movie. I don't know if you do now, but you know, I think a lot of opinions were changed about that movie.
yeah. Now, the movie The Wanderer, someone said in 1988, the film has actually gained a cult following The Wanderers, and I think so has The Warriors. And again, the book is quite different, and movies tend to be a little bit more politically correct, even in 1979, and by 1979, films started with a bit more political correctness. Uh, the
I just want to point out what a bad comment that is, if I haven't mentioned it already. The Warriors reminds me a bit of Tokyo Tribe was made in 2014. Get your priorities organized. All right, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, but I just wanted to add that books tend to sanitize things, and of course, I think by the late 1970s, uh, the days of looking for Mr. Films like Looking for Mr. Goodbar, uh, after Star Wars, after Rocky, and I mean after Rocky, and then after Star Wars, movies, even with rougher tones, started to tone down some of the things, and there were things that they did not want to show because it'd be too politically incorrect. And The Wanderers was sanitized, and so was The Warriors, particularly with regards to sexual assault and sexual violence.
Sexual assault, but there was a hint of racism. Maybe more than a hint. Actually, it's more blatant than a lot of movies are when it comes to racism. It kind of hit it head on. There was no deep symbology. There was just like a picture of Abe Lincoln and a quote. I think it was all men are not created equal, which is a very important.
All men are created equal.
All men. Oh, okay, yeah. There we go. All men are created equal. I mean, is this the start of liberalism taking over?
You never know. I mean, the truth is,
Communism. Is this the communism kind of thing they were talking about?
well, I mean,
I mean, rumors.
believing that people are created equal, and believing that that there should be equal outcomes with regards to that, they're equal under the law.
Well, it
Whether they're
depends.
equal under
It depends.
nature is a different story.
I mean, it's a difference in philosophy. I think science has, at least, has evolved enough to say that they could prove that incorrect. But
Well, that would be politically incorrect to say that.
I don't think so. I think speaking the truth about that, there is no equality in nature. I don't think that falls in that category yet.
Well,
I think you can still say that you're just gonna, you're gonna get eyes on you, but that is what the case is. I mean, to me, that's the truth. That's, you're kind of getting close to the line with them.
Okay.
You know,
Let's go to The Wanderers, because I mean, to me, the book The Warriors is much more like it. To me, the book, the movie The Wanderers deals with really the end of the 1950s, because people say the 1950s ended with the death of John F. Kennedy, like the 50s type of
right.
theology.
There was definitely a change between the early 60s in perception,
And
late
what-
60s.
What you see in the film,
Yeah.
is both the Wanderers kind of fall for kind of a bohemian, maybe you could say kind of a beatnik kind of girl. And the main character he's kind of stuck in his home Italian type of lifestyle, and this girl is completely, maybe even considered out of his league. and also the strife that they have, the racial strife is kind of resolved, just kind of like the way the 60s were. And then you see young men being tricked into the Marine Corps.
By the
And-
man.
Yeah. And, the whole 50s era.
There was a tension in that movie. Like, I don't say that often, but that movie hit a chord, and it just kept it the whole movie. And the way it was shot, it was still kind of a grainy film look. It was gritty, and I told you this before, though, like, just to see a gang of skinheads walking up the street, I mean, it's just, you know,
The Baldies.
the Baldies were quite a sight. It was it's unlike something you'll see, I think, in almost any movie any ever made.
I wanted to mention there is a documentary called The Baldies, and I think it was 2018. And they were an anti-fascist, anti-racist punk gang, and they were out of Minneapolis. And I was watching them a little bit, and they really were fans of the movie The Wanderers and I think The Warriors as well. But they were in particularly a fan of the Warriors and the Baldies. You're on mute.
I'm unmuted. Oh, damn it. I turned my camera off. There we go.
So, yeah, it's kind of an interesting contrast between the two, and the two came out the same year.
That is odd. They made the same amount of money. You got to wonder, it was the same people that went, and saw both of these movies, and maybe another side, refused to go see it. I don't know. There's a message there in the numbers, though, for sure.
Well, both of the films are about manhood and maybe the overcompensating for manhood and what really is, masculinity. And the Warriors is like you. Sometimes even if you're the toughest group in town, if you're outnumbered, you gotta flee. You gotta go. You can't stick around, and people will finger you and accuse you of things you didn't do. And I guess one of the morals of that story is if you're caught up in an underworld kind of thing, you can fall for, you can be.
Well, I think even deeper, Brian, I think it shows any group can and will, if it gets big enough and popular enough, it will be infiltrated. I mean, it's just statistically, there's very little chance of that not happening. And so, yeah, I mean, I think that's where that's leading.
Well, the one thing that that the Wanderers ended up doing was they ended up going to the higher ups. I guess you could say within the, because the Wanderers are a bit of criminals, and then they go to the larger criminals to help them out in a sticky kind of situation to kind of resolve things and make them less dangerous.
Right on. The Warriors, we seem to have less to talk about when it comes to the Warriors.
I think The Warriors is a simpler film, although of course, they didn't do the book, and they whitewashed the book because they had more white characters. I mean, I think the main characters in The Warriors were primarily black and Puerto Rican, and of course, they did not have any scenes of rape, which the book does. And the same thing with The Wanderers. The Wanderers they did not have rape. And that, of course, people aren't going to, because moviegoers are not going to see it. And, you know, when you make
Wait, they didn't have any rape?
in the Wanderers, did they have any rape?
Yes.
The Warriors had the Warriors had an attempted rape, but not what?
Doesn't matter.
A boo, a who, a who, who, who.
But no, but none of those books, none of those movies had rapes. And the thing of it is, what I learned is when you make a movie out of when you make a movie out of a book, you know, like 5 to 10 times more people are going to see the movie than read the book, and it will be much more popular.
Oh yeah. I mean, that's like that with any movie that becomes real popular. There's always going to be the traditionalists or whatever that there's always going to be those people.
Yeah, and I believe Philip Kaufman took the film The Wanderers in a different way. I think he said it instead of in 1962, he said it in 1963, and he made it more about the end of the 1960s than kind of getting out of the Bronx kind of thing, and that's the way that was handled there.
I can't remember if I ever saw that. For some reason, I think maybe I snuck some of that in on the On channel when I was really young.
What film was that?
The Wanderers. Both of these, actually, both of them.
Yeah, and they're both, you know, they both should almost play as a double feature. I mean, if they ever.
Yeah, it makes sense, right? The Wanderers, the Warriors. Very easy movie names to confuse.
Yeah.
I'm guessing there probably was double bills with these two movies. There had to have been.
You know, The Wanderers is now free on YouTube, and one of the persons said the Wanderers is if Grease and the Warriors had a baby, it would be the Wanderers.
Yes,
And
that's a good call. Yeah,
you know, because you know there is kind of a bubblegum pop kind of feel to the movie, but it also goes into deep subjects.
Well, it didn't quite fall into like what's that movie by Ron Howard? American Pie? Or no.
You mean American Pop?
No. The movie, no.
American Graffiti.
American Graffiti. Yeah, that's what I was thinking of. I thought American Graffiti was more watchable, probably because of Harrison Ford. He was a great character back then.
Well, I mean, a lot of people, you know, feel the film was much more enjoyable, and American Graffiti set off the 1950s nostalgia within the movies. He really kind of kicked that off, and the film was extremely successful. And after that, you had a slew of films that were kind of set in the early 1960s and 1950s.
Yes. All right, man. Is there any deeper you can go on the Warriors?
Well, again, the Warriors is about sometimes it's best to flee and get to safety, and there are not hills you want to die on, and there's a better life than gang activity. And the Wanderers, for me, when I looked at it the second time on video, I said this film is a film that is about kind of an ending of a decade. And it's really
What about the relationship between the big Baldy, and that chick? That's very I don't know how you call it. Very ambiguous. I'm not sure what you call that. but she was supposed to be his girlfriend, but it looked like a little boy. I don't get that whole line.
To a degree, she did, and she's in a film, and I forget the name of it, but the title read, "She hates everybody in the world except Johnny Rotten, and that's the love of her life." And it was Harry Dean Stanton, I think, plays Johnny Rotten.
Yeah, fakers. Johnny Rotten was a fake out.
Well, I don't know if his name was Johnny Rotten. I forget.
I know. Yeah, I know. Sid
I'd
Man.
I'd have to look at.
You're off over modulated. Shut up, Farina. Over modulated.
I'd have to take a look at that, but I don't think there's anything more to add about any of these films. I think again,
Back to the movies. I think there's a lot deeper, but unfortunately, it's for one of these movies, not for both of them. I thought Wanderers was a far better watch, visually and character development wise, and just all the communist sort of the commie, what do you call it, commie invasion was happening, and the teachers proved it. And it was also 1979 was also when The Wall came out, so there was probably a lot of pushback at that point. There was a movie filmed in the city where I live, and that was I'm forgetting the name, but it was all about kind of lashing out against your parents and go skateboarding and missing school and all that shit.
Yeah.
And so that was 1979. Same.
Yeah. It was with Matt Dillon. It was with Matt Dillon. It was called The Edge, right?
Yes, that's the movie I was thinking of.
Yeah, that also, yeah. And
that was filmed in Granada Hills. And man, that if you could probably lay the soundtrack of Pink Floyd's The Wall over that movie, and you could probably eat some of Mama's Bolognese and trip out on that.
Absolutely. I was thinking about ordering some meatballs tonight, but I decided not to. But
Manja.
So, yeah, getting back to that, I mean, for me, it was the second viewing of The Wanderers that gave me more deep meaning, and maybe there isn't any deep meaning to it. Maybe it's something that I just saw and I just got out of it. But yeah, that's all about that I have to say about that, Phil, as well as The Wanderers. And by the way, both directors, in my opinion, are both great directors. Walter Hill, great director.
Benny Hill or Walter Hill?
Walter Hill and Philip Kaufman.
Yes,
great director. Anyway, Joey, is there anything to add before I end this?
Let's take a look at the chat board one more time. Nothing. Scott says flee. I'm not sure I think he was answering your question.
Oh, flee for your lives.
Flee for your lives. All right. Well, I think we're good. I don't know. I don't have anything else to add unless anybody else does. And I think we're over another episode of Transparency and Merit.
That is correct. And hey guys, please put a like on there. We only get 2, and it's only me and Joe.
Yeah.
So, Farina, don't be a schnickoonie.
I have a friend named Farina, Mark Farina, and he would kick your ass.
Yeah. Anyway, like, subscribe, maybe share the video if you gain anything from it. If you don't, that's fine too. Yeah, so like, subscribe, leave a comment down below. Thanks for listening. Thank you for listening. And visit our website, transparencyandmerit.com. Thank you.